So here we have Howard Chan, who's in Hong Kong, joining us today. So Howard, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you come to be at Manor Hall and the university?
Right. So coming to Bristol obviously was one of my first experience moving away from Hong Kong for a bit. And so I looked up the different halls, and obviously Manor is one of the very geographically convenient locations. So it's in Clifton. It was basically the main reason why I chose Manor, but also because it's self-catered and it looks like it has a nice kind of like historical hall. And obviously there are pictures online in the accommodation website. There are rooms and they look quite clean and spacious, and so it ticked all my boxes. So I just went and applied for Manor. And one of the main things that later on I found out was that obviously you have to fill in like a questionnaire for why, well, like describe yourself and what kind of things you're looking for at Manor. And later on I found out that they wouldn't actually read most of them, if not all of them. And so obviously I love that my choice. I would never change anything about it. And so I landed in Manor, and actually very funny. I arrived in Bristol, or the UK basically, a couple days earlier than most of the other people, because I thought the date of the opening or the availability of the hall was the day that we're meant to arrive. But so basically I arrived a few days early, and I had to pay for the extra days, I think. But there were nobody at the hall, and so I was quite nervous already. But luckily, one of the senior residents, and I remember it was Peter Sill, he showed me my room, and he was a very friendly figure, obviously. And I had a restful few days, and obviously everything was brilliant after people arrived and meeting senior residences and the warden and everything. So yeah, so that's how I met the Manor Hall.
How did you get involved in the wider community life at Manor?
Well, one of the things was because I stayed in Manor for my entire 3 years of my undergraduate degree, so I can't exactly remember when it was when these things happened. But I remember for the whole time. So I joined the JCR as a first year rep in my first year. And because I quite like Manor, and I think like the bar has a lot of potential, and obviously the junior common room and the senior residences, they're all very friendly. And Nikki, obviously the secretary, and all the porters, they're so friendly. Like sometimes they are the people who lift me up every day when I had a tough day or like had a busy day. And so I really wanted to get involved and kind of give back if I can. So I joined as a first year rep. I went out, also kind of like reciprocated and went out of my way to kind of talk to everybody and see what everybody wants from the hall and what is, missing. And I remember one of the things was earlier on, we have like this little printer room somewhere tucked away, like with like a table tennis table in there. And it was one of the main kind of requests that people want to put the ping pong table out in the bar. I'm not sure if you remember. And obviously the whole hall as a team, like we made it happen. We put it in the JCR and people loved it. And so it was one of the first kind of accomplishment that I felt that actually if you try, Manor will give you the space to kind of work things out. And so I think it was my second year. I joined a couple other activities such as the MAD, which is the Amateur Dramatics Club. So it was a team where we play out drama basically, and met lots of friends, and everyone was very welcoming. And I wasn't particularly good at acting, I suppose, and reading lines, as it's not technically my mother tongue, is kind of challenging. But nonetheless, they were really helpful. And Annie, at the time, she was the person who directed our production. Like she helped me with particular pronunciation of words. So very grateful for that as well. And I also joined some of the open mic nights and the cabaret, which is sort of another open mic night, but a bit more glamorous. And performed some songs with some of my other friends, and it was very well received. I was also very happy to make more friends through that way. And then I got involved a bit more with JCR, so I became president. And our second year was actually a bit tough because our main hall was going through refurbishment. And so we had to kind of collaborate with Clifton Hill House for a lot of the activities. We had to use their main hall as our venue. We had to do all the formal dinners there. And so that was really memorable as well. And also I think, yeah, finally, but not obviously very importantly, my final year when the main hall was reopened, I became bar manager, and also met George and Julian, who are really good people as well. And then we have a team of bar staff, and obviously Andrew was there to teach me the ropes. And yeah, and we try and liven up the bar, and we install these like lightings that were never there. And we broke, like, obviously the refurbishment broke down the wall between the junior common room and the bar, so we have one large multifunction room. And so every time we do formal dinners and the after party entertainments, we try and make use of the entire space. And so just I really enjoy just getting myself involved in almost every aspect of Manor that way. So yeah, I can safely say I do know quite a bit about Manor.
Yeah, it
Like
seems
from
like
the inside.
every year that you were there,
Yeah,
you were
every year.
involved in something.
Yeah.
I think I think I can't think of any other people that were JCR president and a bar manager as well while they were in Manor.
Really,
So
really.
that's quite extraordinary. Yeah. So how do you think your experiences at Manor and at university in general has helped prepare you for your career after university?
I think that obviously the university has a lot of facilities for people with different needs. Myself, for one, actually, I didn't struggle with studies so much, but I do have a lot of, because I'm quite an introverted person, and so I sometimes feel quite pressured to stay outside in public for so long. And so in that sense, I think Manor, out of the two circles, helped me more because obviously the warden was always there to talk to me, and knowing a few different closer senior residences such as Andrew and Molly, and also Grant, who was there to trying to help us through these hard times. I think that was really helpful because knowing someone who would help you, and when you have and sometimes when I face practical problems such as like how am I supposed to go about, for example, doing risk assessment, or are there any alternatives, negotiating with the city councils about noise while planning an event, those kind of things. Sometimes when you're just stuck in that kind of like a little bit kind of depressed feeling, you just need someone with experience to just give you a bit of a pointer. And they were never like they never rejected to help me. And so I think in that sense, Manor was truly a very kind of close community, like tight community. And so that made me understand how teamwork is so important in almost every job. And even though my current job and my undergraduate degree, they don't exactly overlap 100%, because I mean, research changes every day and you go where your expertise is needed. I think the things that like those life lessons that I learned will follow me everywhere. And so I think that changed me the most. And obviously, coming from Hong Kong, it's a different culture. Sometimes just knowing the slangs and knowing people's pet peeves and their habits, and sometimes when you do something the Hong Kong way and people just look at you weird, that kind of thing just makes me more aware about how different people can be in the variety of thoughts and judgment that some people are bound to have and can be quite pressurizing. And so once I get the hang of that, so for example, in my second year, I try to help students who are non-drinkers and trying to get them to come to the bar without having being pressured into drinking alcohol, but then they can still enjoy that kind of social setting. I think those are the kind of things that I learn, and I constantly trying to give back and interact with more and more people. And so that's
a challenge, isn't it? Is to bring with Manor being fairly an international hall, and to bring a wider variety of people into the bar. Do you think you succeeded in that? Do you think there was things that you did?
I think no one should ever say that's enough, because I think there will always be more people that are in need of some sort of extra care or extra time that you spend with them, and you don't have all the time to know everybody to a very deep level, but at least I know that there are a number of people who otherwise I wouldn't have met, or otherwise who wouldn't have even tried to come to the bar, or at least trying to experience what is different from their own culture. But I was there, so they had the opportunity, and I think it was important to just appreciate everyone's effort in making a more internationally accepting community, I think.
So you finished at Bristol, and then you went back to Hong Kong to do more research and studying.
Straight back. It was I would very much rather stay in Bristol or in the UK for a bit longer, but I mean, what I wanted to do at the time was research, and there weren't a lot of funding. Well, not as much funding in the UK as compared to Hong Kong at the time. So that's why I moved back. But hopefully, maybe in the future, I could come back and visit, or maybe stay for a couple of years if possible. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your kind of research area of interest.
Right. So my undergraduate degree was neuroscience, and so we learned just sort of the basics about human brain and mammalian brain, and some of the techniques that we could tackle the brain as a black box and try to understand it. And so after I came back, I started my PhD on biomedical sciences in the area of neurodegenerative, regenerative, and diseases, and so such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and the basic functions of the brain. My area in particular was to research mammalian system, the binocular system in the mammalian brain. And so we use animal models, and we do sort of DNA viral injection, and trying to image their brains while they're alive, giving them tasks and stuff. And I try to understand how the neurons can receive information from the visual field and then integrate them in an area that will later on translate into binocular information, maybe translate into depth of field and danger sense of danger, that kind of thing. And now I think that after I've I finished my PhD, did sort of like a milestone for myself. Now I've switched over to more clinical research. It's still neuroscience, but my main research area right now is stroke, and how some of the drugs that we prescribe these usually quite old patients, how it would affect their cardiovascular markers and their general well-being. So right now it's half practical, where I every week there will be 2 or 3 mornings that we would get these patients to come back, and then we review their markers with doctors, and then we talk to them and we prescribe them more medicine, and then we just follow their case until they no longer wish to. And the other part is more research, where I go to the wards with the doctors and we find out stroke cases, whether it's minor or major, and then we try to take their blood, and we do DNA sequencing of their samples and look at their blood sugar, blood pressure, and triglycerides, cholesterol, that kind of thing. And we find out whether Asian people have a particular stroke profile. And it was one of the main research that we do, is to compare Western stroke profile and Asian stroke profile, because they're slightly different, and Asians are more prone to intracranial stroke or stenosis, which is the blocking of the blood vessels. And so whereas in Western research, it seemed like there are a higher percentage of people who had stroke was due to more cardio or anything below the neck, or extracranial stenosis. And so it's slightly different. And so, yeah, I think it's very different, but it's equally as challenging, and it's very rewarding when, when you do see a lot of patients and you do face-to-face conversations, and they tell you how they feel, and then they feel better after your treatment. So it's quite rewarding.
That's good. Yeah. And so finally, Howard, what message do you think you'd like to give to any current students?
Well, current students in Bristol and also current students in Manor, I think that making more friends, ignoring the people who say bad things, and maybe still regard studying just a little bit more, because I think that I spend a lot of time trying to figure out some of the extracurricular things, and my own identity, I suppose. And as a result, I feel like I didn't study as much as I should have, not in the way that it has sort of stopped me from moving on, but that I think there are still so much to use and learn from the university, and the faculty members could be quite helpful if you insist to ask for their help, and aim for high quality kind of thesis writing and office test results, and make friends that have positive influence on your own career in the future. Will tremendously give you a much more promising future, I think. And a lot of the people I saw at Bristol, I think that they focus on partying a lot, and they focus on just faffing around, really. They're not really doing very much because it's not their fault, because everyone has their own difficulties, but Manor is there to help, and the mentors there, the pastoral help is there for you. And so just don't be afraid, speak up, and even if it's hard, or if it's a good memory, bad memory, it's still a memory to be later on looked back on and feel that, oh, you have lived your life throughout those few years in Manor and in Bristol. And so just don't be afraid of the small pain that you might have. It will all be worth it, is what I would say.